Hello and welcome, and thank you for showing up and watching the Business Renovator, whether it's live in person right now or if it's on the replay. If it's on the replay, please go #replay. Love to know that you're watching it and getting some information out of it. I'm actually really, I was going to say excited, but I say that every time. So I'm really looking forward to my guest coming on today. He's going to talk about how the trades can be a great way to design a life or invent a life. So stay tuned. Right now, though, I would like to bring on my buddy's book and randomly open up a quote because most of the quotes are really darn good. Let's see what comes up. So if we did the things we are capable of, we would literally astound ourselves. That's Thomas Edison. So Brian's take on Thomas Edison's quote is, this quote isn't as straightforward as it might appear. If we did the things we are capable of, this requires us to push our boundaries to exhaustion in order to recognize our true greatness. How often are you leaving something on the table when taking care of your customers? They deserve your astounding greatness. You are capable of extreme delight. So Brian Monahan is the author and curator of this wonderful book called Customer Delight. And as you can see, you can just open up randomly and get a nugget out of it. And that nugget actually is going to tie into what we're going to talk about, what my guest is going to do and share with us. So we met a bunch of years ago, and I've been fortunate to have him bring me back on a number of occasions to do some training for his people. Steve Lowry, which I'm going to bring in right now, had started out with the idea of being a hands-on guy right out of high school to go to maybe begin an apprenticeship and work in the trades. And that's what we're going to learn today. That's where he started. That's not where he ended up and where he landed. So what we're going to do is welcome Steve Lowry. He's the regional director of a national company called Master Group. And he's going to share some insights because I think he believes the same as I do, is the trades are a wonderful place to design a life. And from what we understand, there's a shortage of really good people, men and women, that could support the world of the trades. So, Steve Lowry, welcome.
Thanks, Phil.
Whoops. I'll bring you back. You're amateur. You'd think I'd never done this before.
It was a neat disappearing trick.
Yeah, but fortunately, I knew how to bring you back. That would have been scary. So you started out from high school, you were saying. Then what?
Well, when I left high school, I was probably a lot like a lot of people. What do I really want to do for the rest of my career? Through high school, I did all the maths and science, but I also did a lot of the hands-on. I was, involved in woodworking, machine shop, auto mechanics. Did a lot of, as a kid. If you want to keep that bike on the road or keep that car on the road, you had to be kind of technically minded and not afraid to grab it and attempt to repair it and keep it on the road. So, I jumped in, and this is a story I haven't told in a long time, but so I applied at the local college for the automotive program. And 2 days before the program started, I got a phone call from the school saying, we've got too many students registered for the class. We have to either delay you to the next semester or the next year, refund your money, put you into a different course. So there was 6 of us involved in that. So without missing a beat, I asked the coordinator, is there anything else that's similar, hands-on? And they came back and they said they have this HVAC program where it's compressors and furnaces and air conditioners and so on. I said, you know what? Schooling is never a loss for anybody. So I jumped in and I did a 12-month course in HVAC, really enjoyed it. Ended up going back to school within a few weeks and jumped into a business course, trying to decide, do I go down the hands-on technical side of the business, or do I go into the business side of it? And after I finished a year of business, I said, nope, that's not for me. So I went and jumped into the trade right away, worked for 6 or 7 months with a mechanical contractor. And I think there was 6 of us that were hired on in the spring, and in that fall, 4 of us were laid off because of a shortage of work. So within a few days after that, I'm like, okay, what do I go from here? So there was an ad for an HVAC wholesale. They were looking for an inside sales accountant person. So I applied, and it turns out that a very good friend of my sister, it was her dad that was the regional manager of the company. So we got to talking, we lived in the same area, and I got hired. And that's how I started in the HVAC world again. But as I said before, I wasn't going to go on to the business side of it. And here I am today, 33 years later. I've gone from working the counter. I've been into the estimation side of the business, refrigeration wise, air conditioning, heating, doing in-floor layout design, so on and so forth. And then I jumped into management. I took over one of the local branches in the Ottawa area and gave that a go. And from there, it turned from 1 branch to 2 to 3 branches. And we have 55 people that we're responsible for in the Ottawa Kingston region, so Eastern Ontario. And so I've done it all. I started out right at the very beginning, not knowing what I wanted to do and telling myself that I wasn't going to sit behind a desk, and here I am sitting behind a desk.
So
educating.
Yeah, but that's funny that you came full circle. So there's a couple of nuggets in there. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. You took us on your journey, and I appreciate that. That's insightful. I think what I heard, though, it's a couple of things. One is your attitude was open to new opportunities. You had what's the word I'm thinking of? A propensity to be open to being flexible. Like the first, you could have waited and said, well, I really wanted to be an auto mechanic, and that's not going to happen. So I'll wait a year. Then what will I do? But you adapted and adopted. And I think in the years that I've known you, that's been a trait that's been a thread throughout your whole existence. Would you agree? Or?
Well, I would definitely agree. The world is changing daily around you, and if you don't want to stay up with it, you're going to fall way behind. So any opportunity that it presents itself, if it looks interesting, give it a try.
So I'm going to bring up something I shared with you earlier. Hang on. I think it's really relevant to this, what we're talking about. I think you are one of these kind of guys that I guess we could use the glass half empty, half full. But, the other thing is, damn it, just fill it up again. It's refillable, right? So, yes, you expect success instead of being a victim and looking at the negativity of it. Even like with this last year we went through, and I don't want to have a long conversation about, the pandemic. There were people that were, obviously affected, took lives, etc. However, on the other side of that there was people like you who were looking at, the terrible situation, and what do you do to turn it into lemonade, as Dale Carnegie would say. And I think you exemplify this. You tend to look for possibilities. You do expect success, and you challenge your team to do the same thing, I believe.
Correct. That's our day-to-day. Going back to some of the training that we've been doing for the last, and I don't know how many years, it's got to be 5 or 6 years of training, probably 7 years that we were first introduced. But I go back to the Eat That Frog course, where it's, take on your biggest, baddest challenge first thing in the morning. Don't let it fret. Don't let it get to you. Get it out of the way. They say, how do you to eat the elephant, one bite at a time. And, our team does that, and we do a very good job of that. And that's one thing, the way I approach it is, whenever there's a conflict, hit it head on, get it out of the way, and new opportunities jump up and present itself. People like to deal with people who can resolve situations in a quickly, timely fashion. And, just some examples, some of my team, they'll go into a bit of a situation, walk out with it cleaned up, and have an order in their hand for, an extra $100,000, which if you were afraid to address the problem, you wouldn't have picked up that other order. It would have gone to somebody else. And our job, is sales. So at the end of the day, we still need to make that sale in order to keep the big boss happy and make our budgets. So
you've turned your team and yourself, I think you already kind of were there, was kind of almost in your DNA, demonstrated by your flexibility and adaptability earlier on in your career. But you've turned your guys, some of them were kind of there already, similar to you, but some weren't quite there yet, and that was into problem solvers. Would that be a fair thing to say?
That would be a very fair thing to say. Some were very nervous, wouldn't walk into a sticky situation if you could pay them, in which we are paying them to do that.
Yeah, right. That's part of their job, right? But they've morphed into professional solution providers, is what I've seen, and they're actually a bright group of men that you have on your team.
Absolutely. Very proud of them, for sure.
Because they do. Here's another one. I can't believe that these would fit in. Actually, I can totally believe. I didn't premeditate and put these in, guys. These are just some of my favorite ones, and I think you exemplify these as well, because you do think like a winner, and you do expect to win. Yes, there is a situation. So we go from a problem to a challenge to an opportunity, and I think you guys do the same thing. If you start off with a problem, you say, what's the opportunity, and then you make that happen, and whatever challenges show up, you resolve them. Not that you live in an idealistic Pollyannic world, but your guys are always looking for ways to serve their client base.
Yeah, I don't think there's a business out there that runs completely flawless. There's issues everywhere, and if you're not afraid to address them right away, right or wrong, hit them head on, and you know what? You'll come out looking like a champion just about every time.
So the topic of this was to help some people that might be in their stage of life where going, well, what's next for me? Maybe out of high school, college, maybe they're a little bit older, and because of the changes in the economy, maybe there's something that they're looking for. So let's talk about trades a little bit. What do you like about the trades side of things, even though you're not a hands-on the tool guy anymore? A lot of your clients are, though, aren't they?
Would you like just to give me? I can give it like a brief background of, what the HVAC world opportunities could bring.
Yeah, why don't we share some of those? Yeah.
So I'm on the distribution side of things. So we start right at the back door. We have a warehouse. Every location's got a warehouse with a warehouse person. Depends on the size. Could be 1, 3, 12, 15. At the front door when you come in, we're a service parts provider. So we could have anywhere between 2 and 10 people working the counter. So working the counter would be, if you were to walk in and say, I have a furnace and it's not working, here's a model number. We would look up that model number. It would pull up a parts breakdown. We would determine what part it is that they're looking for, go and grab it, write a bill, send them on their way. They go back and fix the furnace. We also have a complete other side of the business, which is the sales end of it, where we have, engineers on board. We hire them young right out of school, train them, educate them. We have project managers. We have people that input all of our orders and track all the sales, work directly with the contractor and the generals to get product to sites. So it's a vast variety of things that we get into. We also even have technical advisors that are ex-trade people. So when you get to that point where you can't carry that part up the ladder onto the roof anymore, and things are just getting tired and worn out, well, we have those people, and they come in and teach you, how to fix things, how to troubleshoot things. So there's a huge variety of things that you can do in the HVAC world on the inside. You know, technically on the tools, as Phil put in the notes there, I'm married with 3 kids, and I instilled hard work. You know, one of my first bosses that I ever worked for was, you know, one of his favorite sayings was "work hard and play hard." So, you know, we instilled that into my boys. You know, work hard, you'll get good results, and that'll allow you, you know, time to play afterwards. But you can't just go in and do the job at half speed or half effort. You don't go anywhere. So my 3 boys are 24, 22, and 20 years old. The oldest is in the HVAC. He's been 4 years. All I get is great comments. How hard worker he is. He shows up on time. He's putting my senior techs to shame, you know, because he's advancing so well. He's very polite. He's learning the sales side of the business. He's an installer service technician, but he's also selling as he's going into the door as well. So he's sold a few jobs. So my middle son is in the automotive world, which I was originally going to go down that path. So he's a 3rd-year apprentice in the automotive. So, you know, within another year or 2, he'll be a licensed automotive technician. And my youngest son went into followed his grandfather's footsteps, and he's a carpenter. So he took a mechanical trade course in carpentry and building and design. And his goal is to get his Red Seal carpenter license within 5 years. And then he wants to go back and learn the architectural side of the business. So I started out hands-on, went on the inside. He's doing hands-on, wants to get to the inside. And his goal is to design the building and then go out and build it. So I've had nothing but positive comments from all of their bosses. Their performance reviews are fantastic. So I instill that into our team as well in the HVAC world, that, you know, don't turn any rock over, and you know, don't turn away from any opportunity. Keep digging, keep kicking. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of great opportunities. You meet an awful lot of people.
You must be really a real proud papa.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't have any children of my own, but I've got a nephew. I've got a couple of nephews, but one in particular is in the trades, and he started off with hanging out with his dad's best friend, who's a carpenter, and learned how to be a carpenter and does really fine quality detail work. But then he decided to become a mechanic, an auto mechanic, and he works for a local Toyota dealership here in Calgary. And he's got his own setup in his home. So when he's, you know, after hours and on weekends, he does his own stuff. My car blew up. That's not totally true. It was just a little sensor, but it was a 30-minute drive, driving 100 kilometers an hour. So it was a long walk home. Anyway, he sorted me out. And when I knew you and I were going to be talking, I just wanted to make sure that people recognize that trades are not a bad thing. Trades are a great thing. He's so passionate about what he does. He cares almost too much, if that's possible, about your vehicle and the experience. And what I've just heard you say about your 3 boys, you've instilled that sort of mindset in them as well. And the trades place, male, female, is a great place to earn a living, design a life. When I started out in life, I guess I sort of was a tradesperson of sorts. I was a printer, and went from that side of things to owning the company, and then realizing I didn't want to do that anymore, and ventured out into other things. So we throw the pebble into the pond, as what we say in Focal Point, and the ripple effect creates other opportunities if you live like you, Steve, with an open eye to possibilities. Would you agree or disagree?
I would absolutely agree. The trades, there is a shortage of people going into the trades today. Yeah. It is a very good industry. You know, in the HVAC world, we are in Canada. We will always need air conditioning, and we will always need heating.
Furnace, for sure.
There's grocery stores everywhere, so refrigeration is a big area too. But a lot of people think that going into the trade means that they have to work with their hands. Correct. For a portion, you absolutely have to, but you also have to be able to think. There's troubleshooting involved. A lot of the newer stuff today has got more computer programming involved. So a lot of times you show up with a handful of tools in your back pocket and your laptop, and you have to be able to navigate through the programs and set them up. So, you know, you don't have to be just good with your hands and can turn a wrench, you know, and on the trade side as well. We're a wholesale distributor. We sell to the trade. So we're still considered a trade person, but we work inside of an office. You know, we wear nice, clean clothes and you know, we serve parts. We design programs. You know, I do a lot of work with my guys, and we do a lot of in-floor radiation jobs and snow melts. We do duct layouts. We do refrigeration and piping layouts. So it's, you know, as I said earlier, it's endless in the opportunities of whatever you want to do. But if you can't make up your mind, try something. You never know where it's going to lead you, and put an honest, hard effort into it. And I guarantee you it'll take you to places.
So because of your role where you started, you've gone through the pretty much throughout the whole distribution world. And in that experience, have you come across tradespeople that buy product from you?
Oh, several.
Have you seen them? Could you think of one in particular that you admire? And maybe, I don't know what their story is, whether you saw them from the start to the finish, or somebody that was kind of in the middle and grew bigger. Is there somebody that you would like to share?
I've made a lot of relationships when working the counter. And in today's world, you know, the apprenticeship program on the tool side of the HVAC world is 9,000 hours, which takes approximately 5 years. I've always looked at somebody who steps inside to the wholesale business in order for you to be, you know, an entry-level counter person to, you know, I can't be stumped. It's a 5-year program, pending the effort that you put into it, pending the training courses you take. So I did that. I decided, you know, this is going to be my path. Nose to the grindstone, took every course that I possibly could, took every training that was offered by manufacturers, did that for 6 or 7 years. And over that time, the goal, and what I tell people that come to work for us at the counter is, your number one goal is to be the first person of contact. Regardless if you sell that product or not, you want them to call you. And that was my goal. I wanted to be the go-to person in the HVAC world where, and I could find anything. And I had enough resources, and I had met enough people through the manufacturing world that they could guide me in the right direction. And whether I gave the sale to a competitor or not, that person started the process with me, and I brought them to that. So I gained a lot of respect, a lot of trust, and made a lot of friends. And when I went into the sales, when I actually went out onto the road to, you know, to try to generate more sales and build more relationships, it was pretty easy for me, because I already had the relationship. I had already earned the trust, and they respected me and my hard work and my efforts. And they knew that if they gave me a task, it was going to be done right. So that's, I started with, I can go back to 2 people that I'm still extremely close with today. One of them is a neighbor of mine that we're still very good friends outside of the business. So he worked for a mechanical contractor, and him and another guy left and started their own business. And I want to say it's probably going on 20 years ago. And I worked with them hand in hand. And after 3 years, you know, we all got together, the owner, himself, myself, and we had a business lunch. And, you know, at the end of it was, you know, if it wasn't for somebody like you that took a chance on somebody like us starting a new business, we wouldn't be where we are today. You know, so today they're 20 years in business. They're very successful. You know, they have, I think it's 13 technicians on the road, 5 people in the office. They've done extremely well. And I've done that with several customers like that. And my sales team, through all the training with Coach Phil, they are into that process now. They are working close. They're developing good relationships. They're building trust and rapport with their customers, and they're taking them on a journey to a new level and building those businesses. And it's great. That getting a purchase order is a great feeling. But when you sit back and look back and say, 20 years ago, they were 2 people who started a business with a beat up old truck. And today they got 13 brand new vehicles in the fleet. You know, everything is paid for. They're successful. They're making good money. They're well respected in the city. That's a very good feeling.
Yeah, no kidding. That's kind of what I aspire to do every day with the people I am fortunate enough to work with, people like yourself. I want to go back to Eat That Frog on the personal side. I think that's a really good insight for anybody, just before I do that, on the trades and the possibilities that you've shared. There's a number of different routes and paths that people could take if they wanted to. And the HVAC industry is just only one. So you could work with a distributor, you could work at the sales side, you could work on the tools, you could all sorts of things. And then there's the other areas, the other trades. And I'm thinking in those other worlds would be similar opportunities as well. But what I want to do is, you brought up Eat That Frog at the beginning, which is great. I want to, because I know something that nobody, well, not too many other people that are watching this will know, is you took that Eat That Frog program, because when we were delivering that, it was really focusing on the business side to help you and your team do some things by eating the frogs related to their careers and their budgets, objectives. But you did something different. I mean, you did do all that too. But in addition to that, because we use something called the Diamond Map, and there's 4 accesses: health and fitness, career, relationships, and finance. So you went and did something for yourself that was personal. It doesn't fit in any one of those 4 categories particularly. And maybe you could just tell us in a few minutes what that was. You know what I'm talking about.
I have a feeling you're talking about our little camp on the lake.
Your little camp.
So this has always been a long time dream of mine. We used to go as kids to visit my cousins at their cottage up in the Muskokas. And, you know, I said to myself many, many years ago that I will have that cottage on the lake. And growing up, we did a lot of camping with my parents. You know, when I got married and we had our firstborn, we bought a camper and we've camped as far as we can drive on a 2-week vacation to see many of the sites as we could. Well, 12 years ago, we bought a piece of property on a lake. You know, we had enough of traveling. We'd seen a lot of the sites. You know, anything beyond 2 weeks now, we'd have to fly. So we bought the property, set the camper up, and then we just slowly started clearing the land and enjoying it and relaxing and spending a heck of a lot of time up there. And then, you know, going through these programs and setting your goals and your 5-year, you know, we worked on a 5-year goal. You know, we were going to approach to get, you know, retirement plans put in place so that we're ready at that point. You know, what are you going to, you know, what is the next 5 years of your plans, right? So I talked to my wife, and I've always wanted a cottage, and I've always put it off and procrastinated. Oh, next year, you know, and then finally, I think it was probably right after or during the course that we were doing with that Eat That Frog, we were told by Phil to put down your goals and put down that, what's your number one? And so I put my number one as build that cottage, but it wasn't a cottage. It's going to be right now it's a family getaway. I love being around with my kids, and it's going to be a retirement home, and it's designed so that when my kids get married and they have kids, that it's big enough that they can house their families and grow up and witness that whole thing.
I just put a picture of the cottage at the early stages. I didn't get permission to do this, but I'm doing it anyway because
Yeah, go ahead.
This is kind of where it started, right? So I'm just searching your Facebook page here and just putting up a few images. I'm hoping I can find one where it was complete or more completed. Oh, wait a minute. I think this is outside. This is kind of relaxing and chilling. Is that there or is that somewhere else?
I don't see it up on the screen just yet. So,
oh, sorry. Let me share.
Anyways, as he's searching through it, my wife and I, we decided, okay, so we looked at thousands of cottages and diagrams until we found the one that as soon as we both seen it, I said, that's it. We're stopping looking right there. And we made some adjustments to it. We went to see an architect. We laid it out the way we wanted it. He designed it for us. Then we started putting some budgets together, and the budgets were pretty scary at that point. And then when we went to the bank, and the bank said, sure, you can build that. So I turned to my wife and said, all right, let's go. We're deep into this now. And so we started that project 2.5 years ago, and the dream is complete as of last year. We finished it in the summertime. My kids, myself, my wife have several 100 hours involved in building this. I generaled it myself. And, being one kid carpenter in the trade and one in the HVAC world, we did all the in-floor, the boiler, we did all our ductless heating. The one that's the auto mechanic, he's pretty handy with his hands and tools. So we did an awful lot of work there. And Phil is going to probably pull up a picture. And it started out as a small little dream, and it turned out way more than we anticipated. And we enjoy it every weekend and love it. And unfortunately, with COVID, we have not been able to invite people over to come and see it. So we haven't even had a housewarming party yet to show it off. So we're very proud of this for 2 years. And yeah, it's not the shack in the front, it's the one in behind. So that is our dream completed right there. So I guess what Phil was trying to get at, if you put your dreams in writing and you follow them, you can make anything happen. And there's proof right there.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find the early stages.
So this.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, good. You have a lot of great pictures. Well, let's kind of.
You can go inside and look at some of the stuff as we're building.
Yeah, it's actually quite an interesting. You have a lot of snow machines on there as well, which is one of your passions. I was trying to find. I had one here just a minute ago. I guess I could. Is this the raw land? Let's try that one.
Yeah,
that's where it started, right?
That's where it started. It's just left of that camper.
Okay.
It's directly behind it.
Cool. I've never done this part added Facebook pages as I'm doing it live, so it may not go as smooth as what people would like. But hey, here we are, two guys having a conversation and sharing some insights about how you can create a wonderful, a worthy life as a tradesperson, even if you don't end up in the trades directly on the tools like you initially started with. Opportunity is everywhere. Let me see if I get out of this. Get that back. Here we are again. So if you had a nugget to share with the people that are watching now or on the replay, what would be your nugget to share with them?
I guess, sit down, start jotting some of the ideas and dreams and aspirations that you want, and then pick one of them and start researching and follow it. And you'd be amazed once you start digging into it, how things start to pop up in your life around you. when we started the cottage project, it turns out I'm talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, my best buddy's an architect. Perfect. We go talk to them. I play hockey in the wintertime, so I play with a guy who does design. I work with guys that are plumbers, work with guys that are electricians, all through this trade. So I hired my friend, the plumber, and my friend, the electrician, and my friend that also plays hockey with us. He's a roofer. So before you know it, everywhere you turn around, you have a friend that can contribute to something. And you take that for granted because you don't have a project that would involve them all. But the one common thing that we have all is we play hockey together. So, put that dream down, put that goal down, and follow it. You would be amazed on how easy it gets, and how many people will support you and have your back. And, the further you dig into it, the easier it's going to come, and you'll make it a reality, and you'll enjoy life, as I have.
That's a great bit of advice, to write things down. One of the hardest bits of work, apparently, to do is thinking on paper. And what you've just shared with us is by thinking and writing it down on paper, we were able to see some of your ideas come to life. And if you think about it, everything that was involved, made by man, first was a thought. It was put on paper. It doesn't matter what it was. So thanks for that nugget. That was brilliant. What a great way to bring this to a wrap. So I'm going to just put you in the green room with those wonderful no-calorie treats of your favorite kind, and I'll be right back with you.
Thank you, Phil.
So that's a wrap. If you liked what you heard and you want to know more, reach out to me. coachphil.ca is my email address. If you want some more information, or if you want to find out more about the HVAC space, I know somebody who could tell you about that. Or if it's not for you, if it's for somebody else. And if you like the show, let us know. And if you have somebody you'd like to have on board here to share their story and their knowledge, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. Just let me know who they are, and let's start that ball rolling. And you remember to be wonderful, spelled with a U, because you are. With that, I bid you farewell.